Frames coming to you again with Foundation of Civilization in Our Changing World. I wanted to do a quick rundown of some events that have been going on. There have been quite a few notable events that have been happening, and one in particular that we've had some protests in LA. I wanted to get into what was behind it, and those protests are starting to spread across the nation. So what exactly is behind the LA riots? No, really, what's behind the current riots in LA? Not just what the media is telling us, but what is motivating the people who are joining the protests? What kind of image is being presented to the world by the protesters? Who is organizing and distributing the signs, bricks, gas masks, and firebombs being launched at law enforcement? We have several of the names. And how will we know if the federal government is serious about ending the protest? Well, let me get into it. Let me tell you what I have come across in my review over the past few days. And I really wanted to do this early, but I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because I was able to dig up some more information that I wouldn't have had I done this immediately after the riots broke out. And it would not be so easy to figure out what is the end goal of the riots. Not just the end goal of the protesters, but for the federal government. First, just a little bit of background. Over the last administration, the last 4 years or 4.5 years, an estimated 12 million immigrants entered the country with little to no scrutiny. 2 million of those people were what they call gotaways. They're people that were able to tell they entered the country, but they didn't come in and make themselves known to any kind of law enforcement, the Border Patrol. Which is interesting because the last administration gave them room. They'd have a medical review, do a quick screening. They would put them up in nice hotels, and then they would send them to wherever they wanted to go in the country. So 2 million people actually paid more money to avoid going through that and letting the government know who they were. That's a scary one, and that's actually something for another video, a subject for another video. Most of the people who came through were directed to seek asylum, which, the way that it was being conducted in the last administration, is an abuse of the system. Asylum seekers were supposed to be a limited amount of people fleeing places like communist countries back in the 80s, where they and their families were being persecuted. Kind-hearted individuals have sought to gain more political power by expanding the asylum program to include people with economic hardships. Most of these asylum claims are and will be rejected. In fact, the majority of asylum seekers don't even bother showing up for their hearings. Well, now we come to last Friday, June 6th. Large groups gathered in the Fashion District near downtown LA to protest the Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention of immigrants. The current administration has decided that they are going to round up the immigrants, especially those with criminal backgrounds. They are also sweeping up some people who don't have criminal backgrounds, but aside from being in the country illegally. As the groups grew larger, they grew bolder. Several people started vandalizing cars, and then buildings. Then someone decided to set a car on fire, then another and another. We now have the photos, the recent photos of cars that were torched. Somewhere earlier in the day, pallets of bricks were found near the protest sites, even though there was no construction being conducted nearby. Other people were found to be distributing gas masks. Gas masks, some of these things were $60 a piece, so they weren't cheap. It's thousands of dollars that someone has coordinated to make this protest go down. The governor of California Governor Gavin Newsom had a tepid response. He's also the governor that I'll remind you, during the COVID-19 pandemic, shut down many California businesses. In fact, most California businesses. But he wrote the guidance in the shutdown so that he could keep his own winery open. During the last riots in 2020, he allowed the city to burn. Then when the Palisades fire burned, well, it was last year, wasn't it? He dragged his feet in protecting people's homes. Thousands of homes burned. Interestingly enough, he had a committee together immediately after the fire so that they could prepare for what they're going to do next with that land. Along with the governor, the mayor, Karen Bass, likewise dragged her feet while the Palisades fire burned and along with people's homes. This time around, rumors are that she inserted herself in the law enforcement response to this riot. And she failed to act in a timely manner and allowed the rioters to cause more damage. They are not looking out for their constituents. Which is very sad to say. Many politicians these days are not doing what they're supposed to. They're not representing and protecting their constituents. Now, the people attending the protest are doing so for a number of reasons. Many of them feel strongly about the immigration issue. They feel like it's not being administered correctly. Others feel strongly about the USA, but disagree with the government's policies. Some, they just hate the USA and they want to tear it down, and they don't care who they hurt to do it. A number of protesters were seen waving the Mexican flag while standing on burning cars. Then when the organizers realized how bad of a visual that was, the organizers bought a bunch of US flags and distributed them out to the crowd. Hopefully they'll find a good place to display them and they won't just burn them. So, these asylum seekers were fleeing persecution, but now they come here and they wave the flags of their home countries where they were allegedly persecuted. Now, I get it. It's Latino pride. These people feel pride in their home countries. But that means they are not being persecuted. So who's organizing these protests? One group helping organize is CHIRLO, the Coalition for Humane and Immigrant Rights. This one was from out of LA, and two of their organizers are professors at Cal State University, Esther Hernandez and Alejandra Marchevsky. Another individual helping organize these protests, riots, is Neville Singham. He happens to be a paid mouthpiece for the Chinese Communist Party. Two other people suspected of organizing the protest are Leah Greenberg and Ezra Levin. Both are atheist communists. They are co-founders of the radical foundation Indivisible. They are also behind the Radical Anti-American organization. Yet another organizer, Ron Gochez, a self-proclaimed revolutionary, called for a revolution to take back from white racist people. On the ground, some of the organizers are... One of the organizers that's been identified is Alejandro Orellano. He's a known member of the Brown Berets, a radical Latino paramilitary group. And he's the one who was distributing the gas masks. A bad actor, well, thank goodness, one person that was caught was Emiliano Garduno Galvez. He is a Mexican national who is in the country illegally. He's been deported before and has a criminal past, including grand theft auto and DUI. He is now charged with attempted murder after throwing a Molotov cocktail at police officers. Now, we're being told these people should not be sent back to their home countries. Why not? What's wrong with their home countries? It's obvious that they are not being persecuted and do not need to seek asylum. In fact, how many countries will allow U.S. citizens to enter them, demand housing, food, then wave the U.S. flag around and threaten law enforcement of that country? Well, I don't have time to wait. I'm sorry. Most of you guys already know the answer is 0. Getting into the discussion was Mexican President Gloria Sheinbaum. She threatened U.S. law enforcement, or at least it sounded like it was a threat, and said that we must protect the protesters' right to free speech. Like I said, her words sounded rather threatening, and she's since backtracked just a little bit on her statement. She still enthusiastically supports people respecting the protesters' rights, but she didn't want to sound quite as threatening. Of course, I wonder how would she act if someone, and how would she react if someone acted the same way that these protesters are in her country? If they were waving the U.S. flag and demanding their rights. Not to be outdone, the president of the Mexican Senate called for reclaiming land because it was stolen from Mexico in the first place. But how did Mexico get it? They received the land when they declared independence from Spain in 1810, and they fought for it until 1821, finally gaining independence with the signing of the Treaty of Cordoba. But Mexico only held it for 27 years before it was conquered by Texans and then later the United States. I also wonder how he would react if U.S. citizens showed up flying Old Glory and threatening anyone nearby. So as he's arguing that this land should be returned to Mexico. As I noted, it was only Mexican for 27 years. Why is it the argument that the land should go to Mexico and not go back to Spain? Well, Spaniards, of course, are Western Europeans, and they're very pale, so that would be ridiculous. Then why not return the land to the original owners? The indigenous tribes that occupied the land before Spain conquered it. We've actually been able to go back, and you can see on the map here, we can see what tribes lived in those areas at the time. Now these protests are spreading across the nation. One supporter for this is the daughter of Sam Walton of Walmart fame. She took out ads to advertise the protest across the country on Saturday the 14th. I urge caution if you approach these. Most of them are probably going to be peaceful, maybe loud, boisterous, but most of them will be peaceful. Some of them, though, could get out of hand. If you wish to attend one of these, you can go to nokings.org and find a local protest in your area, or you can start one if you want. They've got an interactive map. Now, how will we know if the federal government is serious about quelling the violence? If the federal government really wants to subdue the violence, they will move in and arrest the organizers, especially the ones who are dropping off the bricks and distributing masks. Keep your eye on Kash Patel and Dan Bongino to see if they send FBI agents to gather these people or not. If they do, you know they want peace. If they don't, peace is not their goal. I'm concerned that the real goal here is the subjugation of the world population. And one of the current U.S. president's friends, Laura Loomer, suggested that they could use Palantir to track the rioters. Palantir is an especially powerful software or a software company which was founded to gather intelligence on people through social media, through Social Security, banking, and a number of other sources. The founder was Peter Thiel, who worked with Elon Musk at PayPal. Their only customer for the first 2 years was the CIA. This would be the Patriot Act on steroids. This is the kind of thing, I won't say it keeps me up at night, but it probably should. It should keep you up at night. That's what my real concern is, that this goal is to out the people who are going to cause the problems and allow some company like Palantir to identify them, track them down, and lock them out of civil society. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you guys are doing well. I hope that you guys are paying attention to what is happening and the potential of the results of what we see going on right now. If you have found this video to be helpful and informative, please like, share, and subscribe, and help me out. Help me with my addiction to bring you the news, and help me to finally get monetized. I'd really appreciate that, and so would my family. Much luck. Please be safe this weekend and in the near future, and I look forward to talking to you guys again, and we'll see you next time around.